Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Stars, Stripes, and Anfield Nights. It is hot as hell where I am, so excuse the inappropriate attire. But with me tonight, I have much better dressed Rigo and Brandon. Start with you, Rigo. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, doing great. Thoroughly enjoying our start on the slot, and looking forward to tomorrow's matchup. Not as hot as you, but it's been a nice couple of days over here in the Poconos. How are you guys
That's
doing?
awesome. Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, it's not as hot here. I don't think it's inappropriate at all, Drew. I think it's more than appropriate on a Tuesday night to bust out the guns. This once was called the Sex Appeal Hour on the Liverpool shows, so we're bringing it back. It's going to be a great night.
Well, I don't know about sex appeal, but I'm hoping Liverpool continue their sexy football for this entire season because, definitely not going to hype it up too much. But top of the league, we'll take it at this point. 3 points in the Champions League and opportunity to get another 3 points tomorrow against Bologna. I have no idea if I pronounced that right, but I apologize to any fans of Serie A or Italians in the chat. I sincerely do know the team. I just don't know how to pronounce it. But that being said, we'll get into the Bologna game for tomorrow first, because that's most important, right up on the game. As Slot always says, the next game is the most important. In his pre-match conference, he talked about, I guess he got asked the question about what he thought of Bologna and their start to the season. They have 1 win and 1 loss, 4 draws. I was looking at it earlier, they're down like 13th in Serie A, but he pointed out that they've only lost once, and I think everyone here knows you don't take teams lightly. If you can lose to Nottingham Forest, you can lose to anyone. You don't take it lightly. But Rigo, what is your feeling going into the match tomorrow? How optimistic are you for the first home match in this new Champions League format?
I'm quite optimistic, honestly. I know it's been at the weekend. It kind of made it a little bit more difficult than it probably should have been, even though the Wolves had a rough start facing that tough competition. But facing Bologna, obviously they lost their manager from last year, lost one of their strongest players who is over at Arsenal right now, who played today in Calafiori. So they're certainly not, I don't think, at the level that they were last season, which had them qualify for the Champions League this year. But obviously, any opponent that is in the Champions League, and as Slot pointed out, you should respect. Last year, we were in the Europa League, and we lost to another Serie A team in Atalanta, so we shouldn't overlook Bologna at all. I'm fully expecting the team to be super ready for this match. I'm fully expecting Anfield to be super ready for this match. Obviously, a 1-year absence from the Champions League, they should be chomping at the bit to cheer their hearts out for the squad making its return. Very, very optimistic, and hopefully we do very well, and ideally get a good, nice goal differential from tomorrow's match.
100%. I totally agree with everything you said. Big loss for them, Calafiori, manager departing. It's definitely a rough start for them, although they got their first win at the weekend. I'm excited, as you said, for tomorrow, the home field or home Anfield crowd and Champions League night. Slot's first chance at getting that European night. He had a question in his pre-match conference where he's kind of like he hopes it's, he doesn't put one competition above the other, but I certainly hope that the home crowd gives them a big welcome and gives them a show, and gets to show Bologna the Anfield night as well. I'm not sure if we've played them in the Champions League before. Probably something I should have looked up for the stream, but get a chance to see them tomorrow. LFC Dashy in the chat said excited to see the game tomorrow, hoping to see Chiesa get another start. Also Nunez. I'm definitely hoping Nunez gets some minutes, but Chiesa is definitely going to be sidelined for tomorrow. Slot confirmed in his press conference that Chiesa will not be ready for the match tomorrow, possibly against Crystal Palace this weekend. So I was looking forward to Chiesa. Will most likely not or not. We won't see him tomorrow, but most likely not Sunday. We'll see. Brandon, what are your thoughts on the Champions League match tomorrow against Bologna? Are you worried at all? Do you think there's going to be changes in the team, or is this all guns blazing, strongest squad starts?
I'd say all guns blazing, strongest squad. Like it's Champions League. I'm kind of excited to see what Anfield's going to look like post Klopp in the Champions League, especially the new look Champions League. It's going to be a little bit different. I think we're going to be kind of coming out firing what Nunez up top. Well, I think because Jota's also kind of hurting. So, I mean, we're going to be seeing him up top. Hopefully he starts playing the way he has already this season. I know some people weren't happy with him, I think over the weekend or last week. I can't remember which game, but I thought he played just fine. I think it was the West Ham game. Oh my God, I thought he played fine. It wasn't like he missed some glaring issue, like some glaring shot he should have made. And like he put himself in good positions. He ran the channels. He did his job. He did exactly what's asked of him. Like, I don't know why we can hate on somebody for doing their job. I'm excited to him to continue to get minutes because I still think Nunez has such an unlocked potential that could be just monstrous for us. And I think it's still there. I think anybody who can watch him can still see that it's still there. So hopefully he keeps taking the chances by the scruff of the neck. Little bummed to not see Chiesa tomorrow, but I still think it's going to be a big time team. I don't think we've seen him maybe come off the bench, if anything. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see it tomorrow. I'm glad I have work off. I only get to watch like half games at the most right now. So to have work off to actually see the boys play is always the best.
Well, definitely hoping they get a big win for you. I think that's definitely on the cards. We'll see. Don't want to take it too lightly, but I agree with you on the full strength squad. I think you have to start the full strength squad. I think that's what Slot has done previous matches. I know he made changes for the West Ham game, but Champions League's a little different. Not the League Cup, not the early rounds, and Champions League. It seems like with the new format, you need to rack up the points as quickly as possible to get you past that mark because it does seem like it would definitely add an extra 2 games on the fixture list if you finish in that mid-table section. So I'm sure Slot and the players could use that little extra break if they finish strongly in the top 8 positions of the table. That being said, I'm wondering if Tsimikas will start or if there will be 1 or 2 changes. Rigo, what's your position on the lineup and how would you start for tomorrow versus how do you think Slot will start?
For tomorrow, quite honestly, I don't expect him to change things too much. We'll probably see a little bit of rotation more towards the weekend. Once again, as you mentioned, it's our welcome back to the Champions League at Anfield. I think we'll go as strong of a team as possible. Andy Robertson was back at practice, but Costa's probably subbing in for him might be the most prudent thing, just to not push him along too much too soon. But definitely in midfield, I do question whether or not we're running Dominic Szoboszlai a little bit out there a little bit too much. I could see, for example, Curtis Jones having a few nice appearances off the bench, perhaps making his way into the starting lineup. But Slot does like having a pretty consistent lineup, so we can definitely see just Tsimikas being the change, along with Darwin Nunez up top with Jota nursing a foot injury. But ideally, we kind of knock this out fairly soon and have a somewhat comfortable lead towards the second half where Slot feels comfortable enough to bring in guys off the bench and kind of relieve some of those minutes for them. But definitely looking forward to it. Whatever squad does get lined up out there, I'm more than confident that they'll play very well. It's definitely a match to get amped and hyped up for. And any of the guys who might be a little bit tired, I'm sure they'll be more than amped to run out there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely for me. It's definitely an interesting. You raise a good point with Dom. Like, does look a little leggy out there. A lot of the players. I think Slot has mentioned this as well during international break. Played 2 games as well, so it's not like even though we've had a break from Premier League and domestic football, it's not like most of our players have had any break whatsoever. Add into it traveling, etc. it must be tough with this fixture pile up, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. But Curtis Jones definitely had a forced break with his injury, or at least not getting in the squad as frequently as he probably would have liked in recent times. So definitely seems like he's rearing to go. He looked very good at the weekend. Brandon, is that a position in the midfield do you think would be the potential change, like Rico said, or would you stick with Dom? Maybe try to play him into form.
I think I'm kind of with Rico. I think Curtis should be the start there. The way he's played coming off the bench, he's been very active. He's been very adding to the game a lot. Dom, you're not going to question his effort. Like, he's going to run his legs off, but I feel like we're running his legs off a lot recently. But I think he still does start. I still think Dom starts, even though I may disagree with it. I think Slot's going to be starting Dom. I think he, as we kind of alluded to, he likes to keep the same rotation, kind of keep moving the team forward, same starters. So I don't think we're going to see that many changes, probably Andy in. And then as much as I like to see Curtis when he's playing well, when Curtis plays well, he's a player that you can barely deny a place in the team, because when he does do his job, he's fantastic. It's always getting him up to that speed. And if he's up to that speed, I would love to see him in the team. But right now, I feel like he's kind of set with Dom starting at that 10 role. Maybe I would like to see McAllister maybe move up to the 10 role. Curtis slide him beside Grav, something like that. Give us a little bit more differences. We've seen what McAllister can do when he's a little bit further forward. I'd like to see it a little bit more often, but I also like to see the Dominic Szoboszlai we saw a year ago a little bit more often than we've seen in the past 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, totally understandable. I'd like to see his hungry form as well come out, although I know he plays a little more advanced around the wings as well. But just taking a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in and watching. We really appreciate everybody on these streams participating. If you have any questions or comments, please throw them in the chat and we'll bring them up and address them. But thank you again for tuning in to another night of Star Stripes and Anfield Nights. Rigo, is there any danger or anything that you potentially? Is there anything from Bologna that you think that we should take a focus on, or is there any weak points in our team right now that you think might be something that's worth highlighting?
The biggest things is just making sure that we're just completing our job. Unfortunately, Kanate at the weekend had a little bit of a mistake there that kind of cost us the clean sheet. So it's just mainly just making sure everyone's doing their job and not underestimating the opponent, making sure that we're treating them as tough as anyone else and look to kind of cement that win as soon as possible. Quite honestly, I've liked pretty much everything I've seen so far from the team this year. Our XGA against is leading the league, and we've only allowed 2 goals in the league. And we're creating chances, perhaps not scoring to the level that we will be as the season progresses, but we're definitely creating chances and controlling the majority of the matches. We do have our spells here and there where it can get a little bit out of control, or we're not imposing ourselves on the match as much as we should be. Towards the end of the Wolves match, we kind of saw that a little bit, getting sloppy with the ball. But as long as we're not forcing our own errors, I think we're quite secure in what we're going to be able to accomplish.
I'm completely on your side.
Honestly, I haven't done a ton of research on Bologna. So, yeah, I can't point out a player that can possibly hurt us at this moment, and I apologize for that. But, yeah, we're super confident as far as our style of play and what we've been doing so far this year. So just keep doing that, and I think we'll walk out of Anfield with a win.
Totally understandable. And, yeah, I completely agree. I feel pretty confident in what we've seen so far. The Nottingham Forest seems like the right response. 4 wins on the trot. Definitely seemed like the right kick up the butt that the team needed. And it's really interesting to see Slot in his press conferences where he, I think he does give praise, but he's also very, it seems like maybe not perfectionist, but he's always looking for that like we need to do better with our passes. Like we can't be sloppy. He's always focusing on areas of improvement. So I think it's interesting how he's got that balance where he's happy and praising some players, but also like really he's really quick to praise the players, put it on the players, like saying, you know, we have a lot of quality in the team. That's what will push us further. The reason certain players are scoring goals is because the team's playing well, or Allison shouldn't have to be making these saves. Like, but there's always areas where he's complimenting, but then asking for more, which is really interesting. Brandon Rigo touched on the Kanate miscommunication with Allison over the weekend. There's also been, maybe Slots pointed it out, like the breakdown in the attack, especially against the Wolves game, where it seemed like we got to the final third and decision making wasn't quite there. The link up at the final third, or even the build up, has been misfiring at times. That certainly was the case during Nottingham Forest. What are your thoughts on the team betting into Slots system so far, and how long do you think it's going to take where those kind of mistakes are completely ironed out?
It's not shocking, especially going from one system to a new system, to have something like a Kanade situation over this weekend where miscommunications happen. Your expectation of your job's a little bit different. Getting used to that at game speed is something that we'll have to kind of keep going as we go forward. I would expect probably before Christmas, you'd see a lot of those issues ironed out, where if something like that happens, it's a real just blunder for something like that to happen. We could probably still see a few more miscommunications, like, under Klopp, you're expecting like maybe Jota to run this way, but now in slot system he's going this way, or he's trying to do a little bit different job. Everybody getting used to that in the attack is going to still a growing pain situation. We're going to have to get used to it, what we're expected, what we're doing job wise. I think really more by probably after coming back after this international break, most of it's starting to get ironed out. Because like once you start making those mistakes at game speed, you usually with professionals, they find to iron those out a lot quicker, because all of us are pretty professional at what we do, I think. And whenever we make mistakes, we probably try to fix them as quick as we can. So like people who are really good at their jobs will fix it out. I talked about it a little bit. The way Slot plays is kind of similar to how Columbus plays here in the MLS. Obviously, Liverpool is going to play it much better. But there was quite a few miscommunication issues early on in that process where, goalkeeper holds on to too long, players aren't dropping as deep as they should, or not doing the jobs that expected to them because they're just not used to that system yet. Obviously, Liverpool players should catch on a lot quicker than MLS players. No offense to MLS players. It's just, there's a reason these guys are playing for Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting, as you said, the transition period. Klopp for 9 years. Not every player has been under Klopp for that long, but it does. It seems like, funny enough, like when I'm watching towards the end of the game, it can just go end to end, and seeing Slot basically being like, we need to control the game a little bit more in those stages. Back to Riga, so I'm personally same as him. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. It definitely seems like the right direction. Can't beat top of the table at this point, but we definitely were, I guess, running at 100% prior to the first international break. Riga, I know we have Crystal Palace this weekend, but before we touch on that, what are your thoughts of this upcoming international break?
I just kind of worn out by them at this point. We had a magnificent summer, I felt, with both the Euros as well as Copa America occurring. And I would have been happy with that and just run right into the actual leagues. I'm not entirely sure. So, I think it's just overkill at this point, unfortunately. And we're hearing years after Jurgen Klopp brought it up and kind of got lambasted about it. As far as the match congestion and just the sheer amount of minutes these players are having to endure, you're starting to see the repercussions of that. Rodri brought it up and like almost immediately injured. Youngmin's son brought it up, immediately injured. Allison brought it up, and boom, he missed the match, a couple of matches as well. So it's like, unfortunately, it's greed. It's a ton of tournaments occurring. It's the quality of these players, and obviously what they feel is their obligation to their national teams, which you totally understand. Any one of us would love to put on a national team uniform and trot out there. So you gotta respect their decision to play. But at the same time, it'll be very interesting to see in 5-10 years time what we view as these players' careers and the longevity of it, and are they actually shortening these players' careers, or the years of top performance out of these players? As a Spaniard, I look over at Barcelona and conversely the Spain national team, and how much of these young players have been run to the ground by Barca and then suffering catastrophic injuries on this, So yeah, it's a bit concerning, but hopefully we kind of have plans to mitigate these things. Slot's backroom staff and physio staff has come in with a reputation of being able to manage player performance as well as their workloads to a level that allows them to keep performing and not have these injuries or muscle injuries, which is what you typically see from fatigue. So hopefully we're deep enough to kind of deal with it and make adjustments as needed. We do have a pretty hard stretch of games coming right after that international break. Probably our hardest stretch of the year as far as quality back to back. But it'll again be a learning experience for Slot and company. These players, they've dealt with it before, but not under this management. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to learn a lot about this squad in these next couple of months. But yeah, I'm a little worn out by the international matches. Long route to it, but that's the main point.
No, totally get it, and totally appreciate everything you had to say, Rigo. I think you nailed it on the head. It's baffling because it just seems like we had one, what was it, in September? So like it's absolutely mind blowing that it's this soon. And as you pointed out, the run of games afterwards, I was looking at it earlier. It's Chelsea at home, RB Leipzig away, Arsenal away, Brighton away, Brighton at home, EFL or the Carabao, and then Premier League, and Leverkusen, Aston Villa, and that is rest of October and early November. So quite the fixture pile up. Especially right out of the gates, the Chelsea, RB Leipzig away, Arsenal home, like that one just right off the bat in the span of 1 week. October 20th, 23rd, 27th. Those are those 3 games.
And then we have another international break after the November 9th match against Aston Villa. We won't play again until November 24th against Southampton. But then after Southampton, it'll be Real Madrid on the 27th, Man City on the 1st, then Newcastle the 4th, Everton. Oh, man. Yeah, it's just, it'll be tough. They're going to be severely tested. But again, I think that's when we'll see a lot of these players who've kind of been building up and perhaps not given the time now. We'll see our Mortons, our Jones, maybe Neoni will start making a few cameo appearances. Kwanzaa, Joe Gomez, the entire squad is going to be counted upon and relied upon. So even if we haven't seen them kind of play a lot of minutes so far, I think, out of necessity, they will. And we've seen just last year how well they perform when called upon. So, fun times. Good for the viewer. We won't be running those miles, but we'll definitely be tuning in and watching all those high quality matches for sure.
100%. And Brandon, over you just heard the run of fixtures. Again, we'll touch base on Crystal Palace after this because that game is the most important game after Bologna tomorrow. But I'm going to give you 3 players, wrap them in wool, 100% fit throughout that period. Who do you think are the 3 most important players right now in the squad?
can I say Virgil van Dijk as the three players, like the three names? He's always like, I feel like over the weekend kind of proved, because nobody's really talked about his man of the match, but he was just so good that we kind of sometimes feel like we take him for granted, that world-class displays are world-class displays. Like, and he just does it for fun. Like, doesn't break a sweat. Like, he's the most important player on the team, in my opinion. Like, I think we've talked about it, Drew, about the whole going back and forth on which of the three contracts is the most important to sort out, him, Trent, and Mo. And I think it's got to be Virgil, because I feel like his legs will go longest, and just how much better he is than any other center back out there. It's just so incredible how good he is. But he's number one. The way Gravenberch is playing, I'd probably have to put him in there, just because, I mean, he's just been beyond anything I could have expected, like, taking in this role. I think I just have to kind of say it's got to be him. And then Mo, because we see when Mo kind of gets leggy or gets his gas ran, like he does when he comes back from AFCON, that he can kind of fall off the cliff a little bit. Like, we saw it again last year, which a lot of people did. The AFCON before, when we were chasing the quad, like him down the stretch, like he was not nearly his best. I mean, he had to play every single group game, and I think every single game that they played in the knockout stages went 120 minutes. And so, like, he had to play so many minutes that he came back with nothing left in the tank. So, like, he's another. I think he'd be the other one, because he is our most important attacker, and just managing his minutes is becoming more and more important, because attackers in their minutes as they age, even though Mo's a physical freak, still don't want to just take that for granted and think it's just going to last forever.
Yeah, definitely not. And hard to argue those three. Rigo, do you have any changes to those three? Who you'd wrap in wool?
Virgil, definitely the most important, in my opinion. He's the one without the natural backup, I think, as far as that can kind of replicate his level. Then followed by, as you said, Mo Salah. We're a little bit better off in that respect, just because we did bring in Chiesa to kind of be able to take some of those minutes away from Mo and kind of keep him in shape. But yeah, definitely those two. And with the revelation, basically no change. The revelation that Ryan Gravenberch has been, he's receiving positive, super positive plaudits from all corners of the footballing world. And quite surprisingly, honestly, that kind of off-puttish manager that he has for the Netherlands immediately after preseason brought him into the starting lineup, and he's been starting for the Netherlands since, and that's after not playing basically a single minute during the Euro. So quite an ascension for him. Obviously still 22, almost had 2 years off, not injury-wise, just didn't play that much between Bayern and last year with Liverpool. So he should have plenty to give and to run, but I definitely want him for the long season to remain healthy. So I keep it at those three, just based on performance and what they mean to the squad at this current time.
Oh, definitely.
What about you, Drew?
Yeah, I was tempted. For me, Virgil van Dijk and Gravenberch, just because I think if they got injured, it'd be very hard to replace what they do in the team right now. I was tempted to put Diaz as the third, just because he's been absolutely on fire this season. The only reason I would say Salah is because I think Salah just automatically attracts the focus of the opposition team. Like, they cannot leave him alone. And I think right now, even though Diaz is just killing it, people are still sleeping on Diaz. Salah still gets that main focus. And I think that has been allowing players like Diaz to step up. Because right now, our contributions from forward players through the line, Jota, Gakpo, Nunez, have been absolutely phenomenal this season. So I'd have to stick with this. Mm-hmm.
One guy, before we kind of go from the topic, and somebody I'm kind of upset that I didn't even bring up, to be quite honest, is Alexis McAllister. That's another guy that just kind of is just going under the radar, just putting in quality performance after quality performance. If you took a listen to this, the press conference today in preparation for Bologna, it just completely sounds like absolute captain material. I love him for him to be the captain of Argentina once Messi hangs them up. I think he's going to be a phenomenal manager once his playing career is over. I just think he's just supremely intelligent, high quality player who, I believe Allison kind of revealed he's part of a leadership group now. But that's another one that I wrap in wool and keep him protected as well. Just an unsung hero. I think you can just put anyone next to him and they'll make them look good. He's an elevator of his team's play that I think we definitely kind of goes under the radar and we should appreciate and call it out.
Definitely. And again, before we switch bases here, again, just want to take the time and thank everyone who's tuning in, everyone watching the stream, everyone in the chat. Thank you again for watching another episode of Star Stripes Anfield Nights. We really do appreciate everyone who joins in and watches. And if you do have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. We'll be happy to bring them up. Now, trying to take it away from the zoom out at the fixture list ahead. Brandon, we touched base on the Bologna game tomorrow, but we have another big match again this weekend at Crystal Palace. Seems like the almighty Crystal Palace, the superstar team, has not had the amazing start that their $70-80 million players maybe should have. But all jokes aside, we do know that Crystal Palace can show up and can sucker punch or knock you out if you're not up for the match, especially away at Selhurst Park. How are you feeling about that game going into the international break?
On form, I'm very confident, but I feel like every time especially past few years, I felt confident. That's when one team comes out, sucker punches us in the first 10 minutes, and it's a dogfight for the next 80. So I never take anything for granted. Really want to focus on Bologna, but with Palace, I mean, they have the talent there to really kind of pop up and taking points like you kind of talk about. They play well. I know losing Elise was massive for him with the way he actually, when he could play, would play. I still think they'll be fine. But I think at the weekend, we should be really kind of heading in off a high of another big Anfield night. I think the way Slot's kind of mentally kind of prepping this team, I don't think we're taking anybody lightly. And obviously don't want to disparage Klopp at all, but it's kind of, he was an emotion manager. He rode high on emotion. So we'd have those dips emotionally where maybe games we would start slow, kind of have to get into the game a little bit more, have to get somebody, like I said, punch us in the face before we can actually wake up and go at it. I feel like Slot's much more methodical, much more, practical about, each game does matter. I think he's going to really kind of bring that out of us, hopefully, where we're not in dogfights all the time. Because like I said, I'm not the youngest guy in the world anymore. I don't think I can really handle, dogfights every single weekend for, 50 weeks out of or 40 weeks out of the year, or whatever it is anymore, how long the season is.
No, I'm totally with you on that. I would like when we won against the League Cup against Chelsea, like I couldn't even cheer. I was so exhausted. I just had my hands up in the air. Same with Nunez's goal against Nottingham Forest. I cannot take the heart attacks that were Liverpool for those 9 years anymore. But yeah, you said Slot definitely seems to be very focused, and that was one of the things that I really liked. Seems composed, like you said, on the emotional level. Klopp, always will, loved his passion. But Slot definitely seems like that, kind of keeping it calm for at least the most part, unless we see some sort of Amazon series and see him blown up in the locker room. But I really like that video on him on Fire Nord speaking with the players before an international break when they won the league, just telling them that this was a big moment. I think they beat their arch rival, at least at the top of the table at that point. But he's big moment, definitely celebrate this win, but we have 8 more big moments left in the season, and it's we have to win every one of those. I love that level of recognize the moment, celebrate the win, but know that we still have work to do. The focus there for me was just, I saw that video, I was like, all right, sign me up, I'm ready. This guy's our next manager. Rigo, Brandon brought up the great points of Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace, definitely a team you don't want to sleep on. Saw your comment in the chat. We all were super confident before the the Nottingham Forest games. Definitely want to put that into Bologna as well, but equally as much as Crystal Palace. You definitely don't take these games lightly, but how do you see this game playing out?
Ideally, another 2 or 3-0 victory. I think we're defensively stout enough that we can obviously limit their chances. We have the lowest XGA in the Premier League. They lost Michael Elise to Bayern over the summer. He was their best player by far. I know Eze makes a shout for it now, but he's not at that level. I think of an Elise. But they definitely have some firepower that can capitalize on mistakes. Mateta scored against us last year. He's always up for trying to net one. They have a few interesting players. Obviously, you alluded to the fact of their $80 million players. Referencing obviously Mark Way or Adam Morton. But besides that, they have a couple of of very dogged players and. For example, Daniel Munoz, who went to the final with Colombia, suspended for it, but I like him as a right back. He's pretty good. Tyreek Mitchell, he's always been obviously a decent player. Never hit on his promise, but they have a fairly good squad, at least on paper. They haven't necessarily put the pieces together just yet. In the Premier League, they haven't continued their form from last season, where it kind of brought on the hype that they were going to be, at least challenge for perhaps in the top half of the table, looking for perhaps the top 8 spot. We certainly haven't seen that just yet, but you can't sleep on any team in the Premier League. As we saw, we were all super confident against Forest, and we weren't able to break them down, and Alisson Becker unfortunately let in that wonder goal that 99 out of 100 times he gets to, or it just doesn't go in. But I think that is, to be quite honest, a blessing in disguise. You were referencing Drew as far as his press conference in Feyenoord. Again, I'd love for everyone to kind of, after the stream, obviously go ahead. You're right on YouTube or wherever. Listen to Slot's press conference from today, speaking as far as what the expectations are as a Liverpool player. And, we shouldn't be happy with okay. We should always be looking for greatness and doing things the right way. And we won't accept mediocrity. And again, alluding to the fact that while we have had this nice start, we haven't exactly faced any teams in the top half of the table. And that's not to take away anything from those teams. He always gives praise to the opponents, but also keeps it realistic as well. In that, don't get too big on your success now. There's a lot of work to still do. McAllister alluded to that as well. We have plenty to improve upon. And in all the interviews that these players have given, they've pointed out how Slot points out the good things that they're doing, but is also prepared with things that they can improve on and things that they can get better at, and always focusing on improvement as a team and doing things better as a team and giving credit to the team. So it's just super excited and optimistic with what's to come. But yeah, you can't fall asleep. You gotta attack it and earn it every single time. And I think that's getting slowly ingrained into these players to kind of keep that level at all times. So yeah,
I agree with you, and as you're saying in the conference and how he speaks about the team and the players, it's amazing how he can have that expectations or speak about those expectations that the club has, the players have just for playing for Liverpool, he himself. And while it seems like it's critical, he's still cutting that line where he's still able to praise the players. It's really, I think it's a very hard thing. Sometimes it can almost I feel like when I heard Rafa Benitez speak, he just seemed like a hard ass. He never gave any praise. It just seemed very critical whenever he spoke. Versus Slot, it's even though he's being critical or will point out areas of improvement, it definitely still he'll say the quality of the players we have is what allows us to have these performances. So it's really the way he splits that it's been amazing. I totally agree with you, and I'm piggybacking on Rigo. Definitely check out the press conference because it's brilliant to see Slot answer these questions. And as far as Crystal Palace, I'm definitely I was surprised that they started off so poorly. I think they ended last season amazingly well. I think they had one of the best runs of form. Certainly in the mid-table to bottom half of the team. When they got the new coach after Hodgson left, Glasner, the old Eintracht Frankfurt coach, he won the Europa League with Frankfurt, I believe, and I was very impressed with what he did with Palace last year. I guess they lost Anderson and, as you guys said, Olise to Bayern Munich, so maybe that was a big hit. They've had some injuries, but I'm always wary of a team that really needs to get off the front foot because, we saw what it was like against Wolves. Definitely gave us a hard fight, and I think Crystal Palace will definitely give us a hard fight as well. Like here we go, hoping it's a 3-0, but we'll see. It's definitely time to give it the all before the international break. That being said, one more time, just want to get it out there. Appreciate everyone tuning in and watching the stream. If you do have any questions or comments, please throw them in. It's a little ways from wrapping up, but we've covered both games and we'll get to the other parts of the title. But if you have any questions or anything you want us to go over, definitely throw it in the chat and we'll be happy to bring it up and discuss it. Brandon, we'll get this. This is the first topic on the title. We have not touched it yet, but you're the first one to mention Van Dijk as the most important player to wrap in cottonwood and have injury-proof for the next, hopefully the rest of the season. But Branthwaite Jarrad Branthwaite of Everton was linked with us over the summer transfer window. The links are starting to creep back in now. Apparently, we could be interested in getting his services in January, and we are more willing than Manchester United to meet Everton's asking price. Is this a potential signing that excites you? Do you think we need him? What are your thoughts?
Great player of his ilk, like a left-sided center back. Correct. Yeah. We need somebody of that ilk. Obviously, Virgil won't play forever. We need somebody who can kind of go on that side anyway, give him a little bit more rest. We've kind of called out for it for the last 2 summers. We need kind of a left-sided center back, left back type of player who can kind of fill in a couple different gaps. I would like, if we're going for Jarrad Branthwaite, I would like them to have more time at the Premier League level. I think he only really played 1 full season at the Premier League level. He doesn't play in a style that's very similar to Arne Slot whatsoever, playing Dyche ball. So, I mean, what he's asked to do there and what he's going to be asked to do with us would be vastly different things. So it's not like he'd come in and be able to really challenge anybody right off the bat because he's going to have to learn to play a completely different system than what he's used to. Obviously, he's physically a monster when he's about 6'5". He can hit anything. But I remember when everybody fell in love with Tarkowski when he played at Burnley under Dyche when they made that they made Europe in the league. Everybody was, I remember even Liverpool fans, we need Tarkowski to come in as our center back. That didn't work out. So, I mean, right now he just doesn't have the longevity for me to say, yes, dead on. We have to go spend 60, 70, 80 million, whatever they're asking for. That seems more like a Man United move for a player who's not as proven to go spend that type of money for that type of player. I would much rather him have probably another season of Everton, get him on the cheap when they get relegated, and really bring him in and really twist the knife when he rides down on a open top bus parade in Liverpool colors instead, while Everton get relegated again.
I always have the dream of poaching a United or Everton player just for that knife in the ribs. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with that, but it's happened in the past, and we'll see. But Branthwaite for me definitely. For me, most importantly, actually, I think Quansah. I really would be worried if that restricted the development of Quansah. I feel like he really got the rough end of the stick when he got taken off the first game. Konate came in and has been absolutely immense alongside Virgil van Dijk. I never doubted Konate's quality. His injury kind of niggles throughout the past couple of years haven't helped him, but I think when he's fit, he's one of the best center backs in Europe. But Kwanzaa is definitely, for his age and his ambitions that he has as a player, I would not want to curb those in any way. I'd be curious if Branthwaite would potentially give the wrong message. But Rigo, what are your thoughts on the Branthwaite rumors?
My thoughts are, if it's reasonable enough as far as the price point, I think we could do far worse than bringing in what would qualify as a homegrown product to our back line. Obviously, he's left-footed. He's very, very good in the air. Defensive stats are pretty solid across the board as far as tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerials won. Those are all either in the mid 70s or low 80s as far as with respect to the big five leagues. The question I see more is in his passing stats. Completion is not that high, and the number of passes he's making isn't quite as high either. The way we're set up, and we have been set up, center backs have plenty of the ball and plenty of responsibility as far as building out from the back and controlling possession and kind of setting up the attack. A lot of times you see they have the most touches during the match and the most passes completed. So that would be possibly a question: that is he able to kind of adapt and add that to his game? Is it there already and it's just not being utilized in his current setup, like Brandon mentioned with Sean Dyche's ball? Sean Dyche, obviously a Liverpool fan. Could he grease the skids and kind of lay the foundation of Jarrad moseying on down to the other side, the Merseyside to Anfield? That wouldn't be bad. But again, I can't recall the last time Everton and Liverpool completed a player transaction. Would this be the one to kind of start it? He'd be the top one I'd go after. I don't want Anthony Gordon, former Everton player, on the squad. I'd be okay with Jarrad Branthwaite joining up. Lefty, center back, only 22. A lot of potential there, and had experience already playing in the Dutch league with PSV out on loan. So that's another connecting point to Arne Slot. So yeah, bring him along if the price is reasonable. I'd be with it. As far as blocking Kwanzaa, again, Kwanzaa could shift over to right center back. This is a left center back we'd be looking at, left-footed. So we'd be well set up for the future and kind of future-proofing ourselves if we were to bring in Jarrad Branthwaite. Konate's still young enough. Virgil van Dijk, hoping he gets a 3-year deal. But then I think we're pretty much set at that center back position with Joe Gomez kind of floating in and out and playing where needed, unless he gets to move next summer.
Yeah, no, but you're telling me you don't want Jordan Pickford in the squad, Rigo?
I would, if the idea was to kind of tie his hands behind his head and play goalie that way and try to save and just have the entire team just pepper him with short range shots, and then Virgil doing a drop kick to his knee to kind of replicate what he did to Virgil. Then that'd be okay.
Yeah, I still can't get over that. I think the Virgil tackle and then
no card, no retrospective punishment ended his season and cost us a lot that year. But.
Yeah. Reese, just seeing your comment in the chat, you literally just missed it. If you rewind like 5 minutes, we went over it. But essentially, there's been rumors that we are interested in Jarrad Branthwaite still. We could go in for him in January. We're more willing to meet Everton's asking price than Man United. That's the rumor that's coming out from maybe not 100% reliable sources, but enough for it to be brought up in the rumor mill. We'll see if there's any weight to that come January. But we're getting close to the end time now. So if you do have any more questions, please throw them in the chat and we'll answer them before we wrap up the stream. Brandon, on the idea of January transfer window, far way away at the moment, but is there any position do you think that we need to look at 100% reinforce in that time?
Back who can maybe move out to left side, like a left back as well, kind of cover those two positions. That would be the position. Gravenberg has kind of really made the idea that we have to go get a 6 or we have to go get another player to play in that double pivot, like not as pivotal. It's like it's not the most important thing. I think that question was asked towards the end of the summer transfer window, and I said that's the move. We have to get us, Zubamendi type or something like that. Whereas I feel like now it definitely, with his emergence of just being an absolute stud, that left-sided center back, left back type of player would be kind of the number one move. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other real position. I mean, you're covered at right back. Like, you could use another midfielder maybe if Morton you don't think's up to snuff, because like I've talked about on here, it just doesn't feel like Endo quite does what Slot will want. No matter how much I love Wataru Endo, it doesn't make it not true. And then we seem pretty set up top. Like I think we have a lot of different players, even if say unfortunately Darwin and Diogo's not available. You can still play Cody up there. As much as I don't want to see Cody playing striker, I'd let him see on the left. He can still go up there and do it. I mean, you could probably even do it with Mo. You may even get a little bit out of Soboslai up top. I mean, you have plenty of options in the attack that it's not as prevalent, especially with Chiesa coming in. It's left-sided center back, left back.
And Rigo?
I would agree there with Brandon. We've seen Andy Robertson put in pretty good performances. He got robbed of an assist at the weekend that would have made his day much, much nicer. Not only for him, but as well as Dominic Szoboszlai. Unfortunate there. Great save or lucky save, whatever you want to call it, but definitely unlucky as far as the placement on the finish. Majority of the time that sneaks in through the goal, but not to be that day. Kostas Tsimikas, he's not a starter for Liverpool in the Premier League. Andy, unfortunately, one of the top left backs in LFC's history and one of the top left backs in the world for quite a while. It does seem to be kind of coming towards the sunset of his career, at least as far as a top level player. Also, I'm not entirely certain he has the requisite skills in his locker that Slot would want from that position. He's extremely one-footed, unfortunately, along with a couple of other issues. But I love Andy. I don't want to disparage Andy, but yeah, that might be the one spot I'd look at, or that combo platter of left back / left center back, an Hincapié, for example, would I think be pretty good. But going back to that midfield spot, I do think there has been talk of Zubamendi having not buyer's remorse, but the opposite of it, rejector's remorse. And I think considering how Real Sociedad's season is going, I think, that still might be on the table. I think he would add a lot to this midfield. I know Ryan has been a revelation, but, Zubamendi and Ryan double pivot and moving Maka up front, where he definitely has quality on the ball and plays beautiful passes. That might be a possibility there as well. So I think, it can't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have quality ball players on the squad. But if not for a left center back or left back combo, I'd still look at that connecting midfielder and up it up another level. Just because, again, as you mentioned, Endo doesn't seem to be in the plans long term. He is getting his run. He's handling it and fighting for his minutes. So I give him so much respect for what he's done and being the consummate team player. That's what a leader actually is. You don't necessarily have to be playing to be a leader. You can be a leader in how you go about your business and the effort you put forth. So to me, he is a leader on the squad. But I'd be all in for Zubamendi once again. Not only to increase our chances of winning titles and trophies, but there's that guy Rodri that's out for the year at Manchester City, and when Rodri got hurt at the Euro finals, who came in for him and helped Spain go to victory against England? Zubamendi. So I play keep away there as well.
I totally back you on that, Rigo. That's actually would be my first choice reinforcement as well as Zubamendi if he had the rejectors remorse, which I certainly hope he does because he deserves it after. Maybe not deserves it. I think it's unfortunate that Real Sociedad just absolutely shafted him.
You can't be mad at the guy. He's living in his beautiful hometown for his hometown club. I think they promised him a contract renegotiation to up his deal. That hasn't happened yet. Perhaps maybe because he doesn't want to, because he's like, maybe it's time to go. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I can't fault him for that. If it was a situation where he just joined that club and isn't trying to move or something like that, but that's his hometown club that he came in from the academy. So it'd be like, Trent, for example, kind of hopping over to Real Madrid. So that's not something that we would forgive easily or look forward to. So, but, on second thought, second calling, after that second or third shot at the bar, that move's looking pretty good, and I think that's where he's at right now. So he wants to swipe right or left. I don't know. I never used those apps. I'm way too old for
it. Fair enough, but totally agree with what you're saying. And for me, it's like that idea, like you said, Man City potentially could reinforce. I also think like the best time to reinforce maybe when you don't necessarily need to, but like to just add that quality that pushes the team even further. Like you see what happens with Chiesa, like just the momentum around the squad in terms of the attacking options that we have when you have Gakpo firing, Diaz firing, Nunez, Nunez getting in his opportunities, and then Salah and Chiesa. Like it just has when you look at that bench, you must be quaking in your boots if you're an opposition team. And, once you have, like, if you add a Zubamendi to that bench, you have either Curtis Jones, Dominic on the bench, Harvey Elliott, Zubamendi, or Gravenberch, just in that potential, like, it'd be insane. But as you said, left center back, left back, both you and Brandon mentioned it. I still kind of have a soft spot for Joe Gomez. So if anything went wrong, I hope he could have his swan song, maybe score a goal before he moves on. But we'll wrap up the stream tonight with a final question. I'll give it to Brandon first. I'm not going to ask score predictions because I don't want to do that. Just don't want to add any kind of potential jinxer there. But I'm going to ask, who do you think is going to be player of the match against Bologna and Crystal Palace this weekend?
Ooh. For Bologna, I'll go with Darwin. I think he gets 2. I'm doing it. Go all in on it. At the weekend, I think it'll be one of the defenders. I think it'll be Trent. I think Trent will provide an assist, maybe 2, a corner, maybe score himself a nice free kick or something like that. I think Trent for Crystal Palace, Darwin for Bologna.
I'm going to go opposite you. I think it's going to be... I'm going to go with maybe Kanate, man of the match, because I think he got upset that he didn't win when Gravenberch did the other week. So maybe he'll get 2 goals against Bologna and demand the man of the match. But then I'll go... I'll probably go Salah against Crystal Palace. I took him out of my FPL team, and that probably means he's going to score a hat trick. But regardless, I honestly don't care if I win in FPL. I'm just hoping we win. So if I keep losing and Liverpool keeps winning, it's fine with me. Although I do not want to hear the grief in the chat from the other LFC transfer room members of our FPL league. But Rigo, leave you with the final man of the match.
I'm going full chalk, and I'm going Ryan Giro Gravenberch. He's been on fire. He's gonna continue his hot streak. and just keep showing the world the quality he has. So I'm going to go chalk and go Ryan Gravenberch.
All right. Well, we'll see tomorrow, and then we'll see this weekend, and we'll see you next week on next Tuesday for the next edition of Star Stripes and Anfield Nights. I only say this once a stream because I don't want to ask it until the end, but if you do enjoy these streams, LFC Transfer Room streams every day. We really appreciate everyone who's joined in and watched and got into the chat. If you do enjoy these streams and enjoy the videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel out. But most importantly, thank you for joining. So everyone have a great rest of your evening, afternoon, day, wherever you are. And hopefully we have 2 Liverpool wins to look forward to talking about next week. So till then.